Today, we're diving into the life of one of history's most fascinating figures, Moses. Now, I've gotten my hands dirty with a lot of things over the years, but let me tell you, the story of Moses is one for the ages. We're talking plagues, miracles, and enough drama to make a reality TV producer blush. So buckle up and get ready, because we're about to unearth 7 incredible facts about Moses, the prophet who parted the Red Sea. Fact 1. Rescued from the Nile. Now, you've heard of a rough start in life, but Moses takes the cake. Imagine being born in a time when the Pharaoh, the big cheese himself, orders all the male Hebrew babies to be, well, let's just say dealt with. Talk about a bad time to be a baby boy, right? But Moses' mom, she was one resourceful lady. She puts him in a basket, not just any basket, mind you, a waterproofed one, and sets him adrift on the Nile River. Talk about faith. And wouldn't you know it, Pharaoh's daughter finds the little guy while she's bathing. She sees right through the whole thing, takes pity on him, and decides to raise him as her own. Talk about dodging a bullet. Little did she know, she just adopted the future liberator of the Israelites. That's one for the history books, folks. Fact 2. Encounter with the burning bush. So, Moses grows up in the lap of luxury, right? Gets used to the good life. Forgets all about those Hebrew roots, or so you'd think. One day, he's out tending his flock. Just another day at the office when, bam, he stumbles across a burning bush. Now, I've seen my share of strange things, but a bush on fire that ain't burning up? That'll get your attention. Turns out, it wasn't just any fire. It was God himself, using the burning bush like some kind of divine intercom. Talk about a wake-up call. God lays it all out for Moses, tells him about his true heritage, the plight of the Israelites, and gives him a job. Go back to Egypt, tell Pharaoh to free my people. No pressure, right? Fact 3. The 10 Plagues of Egypt. Now Pharaoh, he wasn't exactly known for his empathy. When Moses shows up and tells him to let his workforce go, well, let's just say Pharaoh wasn't too keen on the idea. So, God decides to give him a little nudge, and by nudge, I mean a series of biblical-sized calamities. We're talking turning the Nile River into blood, unleashing swarms of locusts that would make your skin crawl, and don't even get me started on the boils. Each plague was worse than the last, a real testament to the power of nature. Or in this case, the big guy upstairs. You'd think Pharaoh would have caved after the first few, but he was a stubborn one. Finally, after the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn, Pharaoh finally cracks. Fact 4. Parting of the Red Sea. With Pharaoh's reluctant blessing, the Israelites hightail it out of Egypt, but Pharaoh, he's having a serious case of buyer's remorse. He rounds up his chariots and takes off after them. Talk about holding a grudge. Now, the Israelites, they find themselves trapped between Pharaoh's army and the Red Sea. Talk about a rock and a hard place. But Moses, he doesn't panic. He raises his staff, and with a little help from above, parts the entire Red Sea. I'm talking walls of water, a dry path right down the middle. The Israelites walk through on dry land, and once they're safe, the sea closes right back up, swallowing Pharaoh's army whole. Talk about going out with a splash. Fact 5. Receiving the 10 Commandments. After the whole Red Sea debacle, Moses leads the Israelites to Mount Sinai. Now, this wasn't your average mountain climb. This was a meeting with God himself. Moses goes up the mountain, and while he's up there, God gives him the 10 Commandments. These weren't just suggestions, folks. These were the big leads, carved in stone, literally. These commandments became the foundation of Jewish and Christian ethics, the rules for living a righteous life. I'm talking honoring your parents, not stealing, no coveting your neighbor's wife. You know, the basics. Fact 6. 40 years in the desert. Now, you'd think after escaping slavery and witnessing miracles firsthand, the Israelites would be grateful and follow the rules. But you'd be wrong. They grumbled, they complained, they even built a golden calf to worship. Talk about testing the big guy's patience. So God decides a little time out is in order. For 40 years, the Israelites wander the desert, led by Moses and a pillar of fire by night. That's a long time to be lost. But God, he's looking out for them. He provides manna, this weird bread-like substance that falls from the sky, and water from rocks. Talk about room service. It was a crash course in gratitude and trust, a reminder that even when things get tough, you're never truly alone. Fact 7. Moses' mysterious death. After 40 long years, the Israelites finally reach the promised land. But there's a catch. Moses, the man who led them through thick and thin, wouldn't be joining them. See, earlier on, Moses messed up. He took credit for a miracle that was God's doing, a forgivable offense in most lines of work, but not when you're dealing with the Almighty. So God tells Moses, "You've led them this far, but you won't be crossing the Jordan." Talk about a tough break. Instead, Moses climbs Mount Nebo, where God shows him the Promised Land, a bittersweet view if there ever was one. And then Moses dies. And get this, the Bible says God himself buried him in a secret location. Talk about an exit. Moses, the legacy of a leader. So there you have it, folks. 7 incredible facts about Moses, the prophet who parted the Red Sea. From his daring escape as a baby to his face-to-face encounters with God, Moses' life was anything but ordinary. He was a leader, a lawgiver, and a reluctant hero who taught us about faith, perseverance, and the importance of listening to that little voice inside, especially when it comes from a burning bush.